You want to talk about the new defensive tackle offer from yesterday?
Yeah, let's talk about it, man. Now you're getting into my wheelhouse. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, because there's a lot of comments about D tackle, and we've alluded to this week on the Wednesday show with Mike Ryan. We talked about the board expansion. There was another offer that we talked about yesterday as well, and then late afternoon, new one came out, and that is Nehemiah Telona. I had a chance to interview him. He talked about his Miami offer. He's a current Cal commit. I'll pull up his highlights right now. 3-star, 6'3", 285. So he's not going to be that big, bulky, massive D tackle that we all know that they really want, but really athletic player. I'm going to pull up his huddle here. He plays both sides of the ball. Again, Cal commit. Had some nice offers and interest, though, from some other Arizona State, Arizona, obviously, Coach Salavea over there now. But, yeah, I mean, this is an intriguing one to me.
Yeah, if you guys recognize, the old school recruiting fans will recognize this uniform. This is De La Salle, which was the premier program at let's say the turn of the century there, around 2000. These guys were on an incredible winning streak. DJ Williams, #1 player in the country, came to Miami from this program. Maurice Jones-Drew went to UCLA from this program. You see how you could tell they're still very well coached, just how they line up on the ball. There's the sack against Mater Day. And totally different type of profile than the kid we talked about yesterday. Both Polynesian, but this dude is not, and I want to make sure I say his name right. Viami?
No, Nehemiah.
No, yesterday.
Oh, Viliami, I think.
Viliami, yeah. So he was much more of a straight line.
And it's Moala. You were saying Maola. I was listening on your show. It's Moala. So
Moala yesterday, big guy, straight line-ish, kind of powerful, 320 plus type of guy, which is we need. And then today, you're talking about with Nehemiah Telona, much more of a athletic, like you said, not as big, but twitchy, just explosive kind of player. So they're really two different types of players. You'll lump them in the same box because they're from the West Coast or Polynesian, but much different types of players. And my personal take is, we all know that the reason you're expanding the board at defensive tackle is because you've missed on a lot of these Southeastern 5-stars that you were trying to get, right? We also know that defensive tackle is a 5-star position. The best strategy for having elite defensive tackles, which Miami is known for historically, is signing 5-stars. So plan A obviously did not work, at least not for this initial period. So before everybody points that out, it's obviously true. Now, once that happens, how do you react? And I think the smart thing to do is what they're doing, which is expanding the board in this direction. I love, Pete, look at this guy, how much he went, how many gaps did he cover on that play? He's just a quick dude. But that, I love Polynesian players. And these kind of guys, obviously any defensive tackle that's not rated a 5-star has a much less chance of success. We know that. But there are so many of these big poly guys that are 3 stars, 2 stars, no stars, that you just see on NFL draft day going to these random schools. I was bored. So this morning I woke up early. I was looking at some recent drafts. I mean, I won't butcher the names, but just in terms of the schools, Arizona, Oklahoma, Oregon State, Canada, San Jose State, UCLA, Oregon, BYU, Utah, Fresno State, all those schools had guys drafted either on defensive tackle, which is what we're talking about here, or offensive line, with a Polynesian player that was a 3-star, 2-star player. So these guys get drafted every single year.
He's Samoan. I have to correct you. So
you correct me. You're clarifying which one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Samoan here, and then yesterday was Tongan, I believe.
And I want to read his. And I was telling you this. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, D. And here's his highlights at guard too. I'm going to read the scouting report from 247 Greg Biggins. And not every player has one of these scouting reports on their profile, especially as a 3-star, right? So I'm going to read this blurb. The end of it is what really caught my attention, but Here is what Greg Biggins, national recruiting analyst from 247, says. Telona is a true interior defensive lineman who could play tackle or as a traditional nose in a 3-4 scheme. He's a two-way lineman who also starts as an offensive guard and is good enough to play the position at the college level as well, but most schools like him on the defensive side of the ball. And this was written in January, by the way. At 6'3", 285, he's a powerful kid who can get a push up the field, even against a double team, and has knockback ability against an opposing guard center. He gets off the ball really well, has heavy hands, and does a really nice job disengaging from an opposing blocker and making a play. He's mostly a straight line guy right now and will need to continue to improve his lateral mobility, but we really like the motor, and he's able to make plays outside his area. This last sentence, though, is what, to me, separates him from some of these other guys I've watched. Just if this comes out to be true, he says he's easily among the region's top defensive lineman prospects and has all the physical tools to develop into an NFL player down the road. And look, a lot of these scouting reports are done with the next level in mind, D, right? Like they're not just looking at the college level, because they see so many high school players that it's very tough to kind of separate who's who. I'm a big fan of this guy, and just having dealt with him yesterday in the brief period, he was responsive. He seemed like a good kid, mature, and seems like he has a good head on his shoulders. And we understand that these are all things that are important in the development process. If you're going to take a guy who is a bit under the radar right now, out of the guys that we've watched, I like him a lot. He says he's going to be, talking more to the Miami coaches. He got offered by Frank Tucker, who's obviously in the recruiting department. So I would expect now when the coaches come back from their vacation here, he'll probably get a call from Damian Lewis, and he says he's interested. He's committed to Cal right now, but maybe set up a visit, and we'll see what happens.
Brandon asked me when that interview out. It's already out.
Yeah, posted it yesterday afternoon. We got to get it up on the front page of the website, D, and
yeah, I'll
get a
up
story
there.
up too, probably.
Yeah, we'll get that up. But obviously I'm excited about the player. So the player we talked about yesterday, Moala, the big defensive tackle, the 320 plus pounder. He was committed to Oregon, decommitted. Oregon wanted to keep him, right? With Nemaya, my understanding, based on what I've been able to gather, he got crystal balls to Oregon at one time. So, and this was like in January. So Oregon was on him. My guess, just reading between the lines, is that Oregon, maybe they weren't totally on board with the size and they had other targets. And then he ended up going to the Pac, I guess the old Pac-12, the Big 12 type schools. And then Cal, ACC. Crazy how this thing is. But that's really, to me, a size issue. Obviously, Oregon liked his ability, and I'm in favor. There's expanded rosters now. There's a position.
That's what I was going to say, too. That's the other thing I was going to say. You got more scholarships available.
And if you want to have a Polynesian pipeline, you got to get a lot of them. You don't just get one. You got to get a lot, right? They got to be a foundational part of your team. They got to be starters. They got to be depth. They got to be in practice. They got to be on special teams. They got to be part of your team. And in my opinion, part of the reason you do that is because these guys are so physical. They're so tough. They're so coachable. Having a lot of them helps your team culture, because their style of play, their style of football is what you want as a coach. I'm generalizing, but I think I'm allowed to generalize here. This has been proven over years and years of football. You see Utah, Utah gets guys like this. And Utah ends up, you're like, why are they playing such good defense all the time? And why are they so on point and disciplined and physical and able to hold up at the line? They get guys like this. So do I want Lamar Brown? Obviously, that's the easiest, that's the most proven way to get a elite defensive line, is getting these big guys, these big 5-stars from the Southeast. If you can't do that, this is, to me, a smart mitigation strategy. And I would try to get both of these guys, not just one of them. I'd get both of them if I could.
Nick Canino says that he has the same size as James Johnson. I mean, James Johnson is listed as 6'2.5", 285, and this kid's listed as 6'3", 285. I think James Johnson may be a little more little more broad.
Yeah.
D, I don't know if you would just I haven't seen either of them in person, but I think there's a little bit more power there. But yeah, I can see what you're saying just based on the measurements.
Yeah, one thing I'll say about Nemanja Telona's highlights is he's going against some really good competition. I mean, that you see Matter Day in those highlights. Like, you see big players. Part of the reason why he doesn't look that big is because he's going against actual big guys. He's not going against. Hold on, let me mute this. He's not going against shrimps.
Brandon says, "I love Utah's D line." Yeah, my guy Luther Ellis is the D tackles coach out there. Was a longtime pro, and he's got his Samoan roots as well. So it's tough. You got a guy who's a big legend in that community who's recruiting out there for Utah.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, and Pete, you've been around these guys, especially when you're recruiting. These guys are out there. It's not all the 5 stars that go to USC or the Mauanoas.
They love the game. They love the competition. They love the weight room. Very family oriented people. I mean, very, very trust-based people. The relationships go a very long way.
Yeah. And you watch the draft like I do. You're sitting there on a Saturday, and it's like the 5th round, and some random dude from San Diego State goes off the board with the U at the end of his name, like that. How often does that happen? Right. So I'm not saying this is an NFL player or the 2 guys we've been talking about are NFL players, but I'm saying is, if you are going to expand the board, especially look, you brought in Coach Misapeka, who is a Polynesian football legend from Samoa, who was brought into the recruiting department in part because he can identify future pros like this, guys that are going to help your program. I'm sure he has some involvement in these offers. So that is something to keep an eye on. You don't bring in a guy like that, this was this year. So they brought in this year after we already had the Mauanoas. You don't bring in a guy like that if you're not intending to add some volume from this community. And I think the news I wanted to hear was Lamar Brown picking Miami or James Johnson picking Miami. That's the news I wanted to hear. In lieu of that kind of news, the news I want to hear is we're expanding the board for some of these under the radar guys with traits, and in this case, a community you want to build up for your program long term at the University of Miami.